Don't be afraid to let your players blow past something. And what I mean by that is not everything in the campaign should be tailored to your PC's abilities. I don't mean don't tailor the campaign to your players. You should always do that. Don't make an intrigue-based game when your players have clearly verbalized to you that they want to just kill stuff and get loot. No one's going to have fun that way. I'll give an example. I've been in games before in which a GM will arbitrarily raise a dice check for something based on how difficult he thinks it should be for me, not how difficult it should be for my character. My best example of that would be when I played in a Pathfinder game. I was a blind swordsman. It's one of my favorite archetypes. And as you can imagine, I specialized in perception. I took everything I possibly could to get my bonus as high as I could. If you haven't played Pathfinder, there is basically rules for everything, and the perception rules are very, very precise. Rules for based on how far away a sound is, if the sound of battle is nearby, if you're trying to hear through surfaces and how thick that surface is. It's very precise. I actually had all of the rules written down on a little note card, so that way I could calculate a dice check all in a moment's notice if I needed to. So for brevity's sake, let's just say I knew everything that was going on within 30 feet of me, and beyond that I needed to roll. The GM would basically just say, well, based on this situation, I don't think you would know X, or I think the dice check should be increased by plus Y, not plus 1 or plus 2, whatever the actual rules said. Even though rules as written, I would know what was going on, or the dice check would only be plus 2, not plus 10. Now he did this because he just thought that it should be harder for me based on his own perception. In the case of modifiers, he did this because he didn't think plus 2 was enough for me to risk failing. But in reality, plus 2 was enough for the average person to risk failing, whereas I, who was specialized in hearing a needle drop through a castle wall, I wasn't going to risk failing, and that made perfect sense because that's how my character was built. Now 5e is a lot more flexible with this rule set. It leaves a lot up to GM interpretation, but I still think it's important to keep that mindset with things, which is, don't punish your player for specializing in something or being really good at it. But the caveat to that is at first. The world should be reactive to your players. So going back to my example, me as a blind swordsman, eventually people are going to hear stories about me. I'm a blind swordsman. That word of that would travel. And one day we're going to come across an enemy whose immediate reaction is to cast silence on me, which will completely negate anything I can do. I had one example where my party, we had to fight a group of wraiths, and in Pathfinder, because they were incorporeal, I had no way of detecting them. So my defenses, they had bonuses to hit me because I didn't know where they were, and I couldn't hit, or I had huge penalties to hitting them because I didn't know where they were. Party members actually had to start shouting out to me where to swing just so I had a chance, and I was one of the major frontline fighters in that game too. Thinking back to it, I actually wish I had have turned away from the battle mat. I think that would have been pretty fun, but hindsight's 20/20. But more situations like that. If you have a spellcaster who has an insanely high dice check, eventually people are going to know to bring, some low-level underlings whose sole purpose is to cast Counterspell. The Aarakocra, who's taken Eldritch Blast and Eldritch Spear, is going to be... Spear. That was... I don't know how I Englished there for a moment. He shouldn't be surprised when eventually an enemy knows to cast Fly on one of their melee fighters and send them up there to smack them around. Basically, you should adjust the world to challenge your players before you adjust the rules to challenge them. Also, avoid making changes in the heat of the moment if you can, because your players' decisions are going to be based on what they know the rules to be, not what you decide they should be in the heat of the moment, and then that's just no fun for anybody. That's all I have to say about that for the moment. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and comment. Let me know what you think. Other than that, may all your 20s be natural, and you have a nice day.